When the administration is trying to dig us out of a deep hole, it's difficult for them to take your personal finances into account. You have to do that. I choose to diversify my savings with gold from Birch Gold Group, and you can too. Just text the word Dinesh to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no obligation information kit on gold. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers. You too can diversify with Birch Gold. Text Dinesh to 989898. Coming up, Debbie and I are geared up for a top-notch Friday roundup. We're going to talk about the religion of peace, or as Debbie sometimes calls it, the religion of pieces. Anyway, it's the increasing presence and influence of Muslims in the West, the massacre of Christians in Syria and other countries, whether Sydney Sweeney really has good genes, illegals and the left's virtue signaling, and a very peculiar dark heart that Bryan Kohberger drew on a piece of paper during his sentencing. Hey, if you're watching on X, Rumble, or YouTube, listening on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe, the follow, the notifications button. That would be great. I'd appreciate it. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
America needs this voice. The times are crazy. In a time of confusion, division, and lies, we need a brave voice of reason, understanding, and truth. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
Guys, Debbie and I here and ready to roll on our Friday roundup. And honey, you are looking smashing as always. And
No, it's just that I had just got my hair done.
You got your hair done,
Yeah,
but it looks
this
great.
morning. Yep.
It looks
Thank
super
you.
good.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going for a little bit lighter look, on the hair to hide the grays a little more.
Well, your hair has it has such a subtle combination of like reds and browns, and now you have a slightly blondish streak.
Uh-oh.
But I think you're still more on the brown
Okay,
side.
good.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go blonde, but I wanted to go a little lighter, just not blonde.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
think that blondes have more fun?
No, well,
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Right.
Depends, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. There's a new poll, a survey from Pew Research, and Pew Research, leans to the left.
Mm-hmm.
But these findings are so startling that they're really worth reflecting on, because we tend to believe, and this is all really foundational to the whole progressive idea, right? That, hey, you conservatives are all the old people, you're dying out, the future belongs to us, Obama, the arc of history bends in our direction. Well, take a look at this. Basically, if you look at the shift from 2023 to 2025, so just really in 2 years, you find that among the older people, you have a slight tilt toward the Democrats. So older people, by the way, are fairly evenly divided. They were leaning a little bit more Republican, at least the men. And now it's kind of very evenly balanced. So that's interesting. The Democrats have been gaining, although very modestly, for older people over 65, men D+6, and women D+2. Okay, but now contrast this with 18 to 29, which is the youngest cohort.
Yeah.
In 2023, the Democrats were dominant among men and women. They had 62% of men, and they had 65% of women. So young people were in the Democratic camp. There's been a shift, R plus 44, and among women, R plus 14. So among younger people, even women have swung to the right. Now, in 2025, the Democrats still have a majority among women. They're 58, and women are 37% on the Republican side. But look at men. Leaning Democratic, 34%. Leaning Republican, 52%. So the notable shift here, there is a shift that is more pronounced among men in all demographics, all cohorts. But what we see is younger men and younger women moving right, but young men moving even more to the right. And how do you, I mean, I find this very encouraging and very positive. And I've seen a hint of it myself in the sense that I notice that young right-wingers even look back at our generation, which is boomer generation. You know, I'm at the end of boomer, you're at the beginning of generation X, I guess. But they see us as like not sufficiently conservative. In fact,
that's crazy.
I know, right? I mean, we're pleased to hear it.
Yeah.
We're actually moderates, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. But I think what it is that these young people have become so embittered against the establishment, against the powers that be. They are so, they feel the pinch of economic policies.
The attack on men in
The
general.
attack on men.
On white men.
On white men in particular. This DEI has become so epidemic. And I think also what happened is, you know, when I was in college, I saw the universities as run by these muddle-headed liberals. Some of them were older classical liberals, but they were kind of weak. And then I saw these aggressive young activists coming up, and the struggle was between those groups. But I got along pretty well with both groups, maybe surprisingly enough. I think these young people today, especially young men, they see the universities run by this twisted, woke matriarchy with a retinue of, you know, just amoral, emasculated men who are like viciously trampling on their chances to get into grad school, get good jobs, get promotions, that demonizes them, makes their life miserable on campus. So they want to like strike out at these people, humiliate them, degrade them, ruin them. And I think that in some ways they're right. The universities have gone so far that I don't even know if they can be salvaged in their current form.
Yeah, probably not. But this is good because this is the result, right? This is what happens.
The result?
So,
I mean, I think that if these numbers are right, and there's no reason to think they're not,
yeah,
it portends a political earthquake. I mean, it portends the fact that as the boomers fade out, you're going to see American politics move sharply right. You're going to have a far right keeping its eye on the normal right. I mean, these are people, you know, we saw a glimpse of this even with Trump, where when the Epstein issue came up, or even on immigration, these are people who like, they move in and they start bashing Trump from the right. You're not doing enough. Yeah, you've sealed the border, big deal. Where are the deportations? Or their view is, you promised us the Epstein names. Give us the Epstein names. And if one of the Trump cabinet people goes, well, you know, we're reviewing the names, these people go nuts. And they go, why are you reviewing the names? We don't need you to have you, Pam Bondi, screen the names for us. Give us the names. We will figure it out. Just release the information. Be transparent. So this is the kind of voice of the kind of, in a way, the hard right.
Yeah.
And while we're sympathetic to that group, I think it's probably accurate to say that we are not in that group.
I know.
Right?
No.
So, and maybe you're even in it even less than I am, right? Because I think, yeah, you're more of a traditional Republican, and you understand, I think, the flaws of the old Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney model. So I'm, you know, there's no way.
I'm not that.
You're not that at all.
No. But I'm also not hardcore MAGA. You know, like I wouldn't call myself MAGA. I am a supporter of Trump. I'm supporter of his policies, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that I am MAGA.
Why is that? Now, what is your idea of MAGA that differs from traditional republicanism?
I think because I really do like the Republican Party, and I think the Republican Party is a good party. You know, it's got really good bones, and I think building up the party is the important thing, because I fear that the MAGA movement will go away when Trump is no longer president.
Oh,
and so I want to make sure that the Republican Party has that MAGA spirit, but not necessarily MAGA.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. There is certainly a faction of MAGA that's like, we're not really Republican.
Yes.
You know, we are actually members of this non-existent, but nevertheless, you know, imaginative new party called MAGA. and we have no real loyalty to the Republican Party. And I think what you're saying, which I agree with, by the way, is that first of all, the Republican Party has a spectacular, remarkable track record in history, right? We're a party rooted in all the right ideals, and this goes back to the second half of the 19th century. The Democratic Party is responsible for a lot of the evils in American society and culture.
And still to this day.
Still to this day. And American politics has fought team against team. So there really is no way to fix the country by creating some other party.
Yeah. The only other party that I would like to see created is on the left.
Right. In other words, you're saying to divide the left, right?
Exactly.
To create a wedge.
Exactly.
So maybe
right.
if they had a true communist party, it would be good.
Exactly right. Yeah. That true communist party is the Democrat. So if the Democrats that are not communists, they're left, but they're not socialist communist left.
Yeah.
They maybe can form their own party, and so they can divide their own people that way.
You know,
that'd be nice.
They are struggling over, I think, this issue.
Their identity?
Well, in a way, I think Mamdani, even though he's just running for mayor of New York, and, you know, it's just one office by itself. And even if he wins, there's a limit to what he can do. Somebody was asking me in my locals Q&A, you know, how's Mamdani going to be different from, let's say, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, or, you know, Beetlejuice before him, or a lot of these other mayors in left-wing cities, London Breed in San Francisco, or Karen Bass in LA. And I said, you know, I don't think he's going to be different at all. All these people are the same ilk. But rhetorically, he goes further than they do. They won't even talk about, like, nationalizing businesses or seizing private property or taking over people's apartments. This dude will do that. He goes there. But probably in terms of actual governance, will be the same. But the point I'm getting at is that you're saying that the Democratic Party, they're going to have to decide what to do about this movement, because, you know, talk about up-and-coming young people. Up-and-coming young people are more Karen Bass and Mamdani than they are even Schumer and any traditional Democrat.
Yeah,
so,
no, I think they could very well be in trouble if this is the case. Now, with Mamdani, I'm not really liking the fact that he's very far left, but he's also Islamic. And more than likely, he's a radical Islamic. That combination, I think, makes him a little bit more toxic than, say, even somebody in Chicago, than Beetlejuice or the new guy.
No, I mean, this guy is the actual physical realization of the theme in my book, The Enemy at Home, which was very controversial at the time. And it shows us really how even the conservative understanding has shifted. So I published a book basically saying that it's not just a clash of civilizations between us and them, but that the us is divided into a right and a left. And our left wing has more in common with, and strangely enough, will ally with radical Muslims against the right. That's exactly what's happened. And not only that, a guy like Mamdani, a part of him is basically Islamic and Islamist, and another part of him is classic anti-colonial Obama left. And notice how seamlessly those two things go together.
But they do. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Isn't that
Yeah, but even more than that, because, look, you know, the United States was allied with...
I mean, David Horowitz would talk about this all the time.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, look at World War II, honey. You know, the United States is allied with Stalin, right? But were we Stalinist? No. We were just the enemy of our enemy, which the enemy was, of course, the Nazis. We were able to ally with Stalin temporarily. But notice with Mamdani, it's not like you have two completely disparate elements. They seem to blend. They seem to harmonize. I'm sure Mamdani doesn't get up in the morning and go, is this the left-wing part of me or the Islamist part of me? Because
one and the same.
They're one and the same. I think that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. All right, let's talk about Islam and the West, because one of the phenomena we see it here in Texas, but it's happening in other parts of the country, is we're seeing Muslims, many of whom had initially moved into cities, now moving into suburbs, and they are building sometimes quite conspicuous mosques. They like to have public calls to prayer. They have public gatherings. They've talked about creating their own apartment complexes and neighborhoods and cities. And so this is a phenomenon that is unfamiliar to a lot of Americans.
But it's not new. I've been, I was very much on the front lines 10 years ago on
talking
this,
about this. But
so,
I mean, even 10 years ago is somewhat new, right? It's new
a decade ago.
Yeah, because we've had immigrants coming to this country. We've had non-white immigrants coming to this country. And it's not even like we haven't had ethnic neighborhoods, right? We have Chinatown, you have little, little Nigeria town, but typically those are inside of cities. And so this Islamic phenomenon, we sometimes talk about it. I think we're kind of on the same page, but we do disagree somewhat. You find this phenomenon more disturbing than I do. Now, why is that? What is disturbing about it?
Well, first of all, if true, and again, this is, speculative, I guess, but if the majority of Muslims want to create a caliphate and they're going to the West in order to do this, because as you've seen videos in Italy, the Milan, London, all these places,
Berlin,
that are full of Muslims that are doing the call to prayer in public. They have what's called no-go zones, meaning you cannot go there unless you're Muslim. If true,
they run for local office. There are a lot of Muslim mayors of British towns, for example.
Exactly. And so if indeed that is what they want, and they really don't want to coexist, they really want to just dominate and make you the, I guess, subordinate to them, then I have a problem with that. The Chinese in Chinatown aren't doing that. Indians don't do that. Hindus don't do that. Jews don't do that. Even Christians don't do that. So again, it's problematic. Even if it's just a small percentage of Muslims that do that, that's a lot of Muslims, because as you know, there's a lot of Muslims. So
they've created a very cohesive bloc. And now people do say, by the way, that they're not the only ones who do this. Mormons have created a tribe. Jews are to some degree a tribe. Even Hindus are to some degree a tribe. And by tribe, what I mean is they help each other. You'll have a guy who's, let's say, a Mormon, and we've known a few Mormons who are, by the way, great guys. And we've had one, Jerry Molen, who is key to our earlier films. But the way Mormons operate in Salt Lake City and other places is I noticed that a Mormon guy makes sure to have a Mormon lawyer. And if he's looking for an accountant, it's going to be a Mormon accountant. And so they keep the business and they keep the money in their own community. So the Muslims are not unique, but I think what you're saying is that quite above and beyond the normal tribalism of self-advancement, they have this sort of ambitious political agenda.
And they have warped customs, for example, honor killings. I mean, I don't want that coming to America. It actually did. I'm following a case. I haven't actually gone back to see what happened,
what the outcome
is. I know that it was on day 9 of deliberations, I think, or I don't even know. But
this is the husband and wife who are accused of attempted murder on their own daughter,
strangling the daughter,
for having a non-Muslim boyfriend, basically.
Yes. And so I don't want that to become normal here. I just don't. And I fear that this will become normal. The more Muslims that move here, and the more Muslims that move here and don't want to assimilate, but rather want to keep their customs, want to keep their honor killings, want to keep, Sharia. I don't want that here. No.
Yeah, and do you think it is best stopped by stopping the immigration in the first place, or do you think it is best stopped because once you let people, the problem with our country, I think, is that immigrants are coming here and they're not like the old immigrants. They don't care about assimilation. They assimilate in certain ways, but they're not interested in giving up their culture. They are not interested in giving up their political.
Well, you don't have to give up your culture. Just don't force me to be subordinate to your culture. Don't force me to do that. That's my fear of I don't care if you're Italian and you come and you, I don't care. You know, if you have your family, your Italian
even speak Italian at home,
speak Italian, whatever.
Serve pasta every day, no big deal.
Yeah. I may not eat your pasta, although I'd want to, but you know.
We're holding back through great discipline.
Yeah. Anyway, but what I'm saying is that I do think this is very different. This is not the same. Not the same.
I'm very happy to talk to you about the amazing people at PhD Weight Loss, because they've done a lot for me and they've done a lot for Debbie. Debbie lost 24 pounds, I lost 27, and that was 2 years ago. Have we regained the weight? No, we've kept it off. It's our way of life eating and we love it. The program is simple. They do the planning for you. All you have to do is follow the plan just like we did. It's customized to our personal needs and schedules. This is not a one-size-fits-all plan. They even provide 80% of your food at no additional cost. There are no drugs involved, no injections, no expensive medication. This is 100% science-based nutrition. This plan teaches your body to take care of, to heal itself. You meet with your nutritionist every week. If you have questions, you call or email. You're never alone. You always have support. It focuses on removing the inflammation from your body. So inflammatory diseases, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes are always reduced and often eliminated. The first 10 callers who mention Dinesh get 2 free weeks added to their program. Plus, when you fully commit, you get 15% off your entire program. So give them a call right now. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Don't forget to mention the word Dinesh for a whole bunch of savings. Mike Lindell tells me a major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. Well, hey, their loss is your gain. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. Get a standard MyPillow for just $19.98. Want more? Upgrade to queen size, just $24.98, or king size, $29.98. You can snag a body pillows for $39.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $12.98. Plus, when you order over $75, you get $100 in free digital gifts, no strings attached. That's right, premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it off. So don't wait. Head to mypillow.com, or you can call 800-876-0227, 800-876-0227. Don't forget to use the promo code Dinesh, D-I-N-E-S-H. You can grab your standard MyPillow for just $19.98 while supplies last. Continuing on this topic of Islam, we have been seeing some pretty disturbing reports of Christians being targeted, persecuted, and killed in places like Syria. And you told me not just Syria, but we know this is also going on in a number of countries in Africa.
In the Congo.
African countries, by the way, are sometimes quite suspended. They're like 50% Islamic and 50% Christian. But the Muslims are more violent and they're more militant.
Yeah, and it's in the fact that they are striking Christians. Like, okay, so Pope Leo condemns brutal machete attack that killed 49 Christians during a prayer vigil in the Congo. Think about that. These so-called, and they call themselves the religion of peace, is going after the real religion of peace. I mean,
while they are worshiping
while they're
and praying,
peaceful,
and a machete attack.
Machete.
I mean, talk about barbaric, bloody.
Yes.
And the other thing about it is, you can flip through the pages of major newspapers and not a word about it.
Nobody's talking about
not
that
a
right
word
now.
on CNN, not a word on MSNBC. It's almost as if they don't cover it, it's not happening.
They're only talking about Gaza.
Right.
Gaza. And they're not talking about the Christians that are being slaughtered in all these other places.
Even though these are civilians, right? The big chant in Gaza is over civilians, right? Civilians are starving. By the way, did you see the article? I think I saw this yesterday. it was about the fact that the authorities in Gaza are complaining that they are being humiliated because food is being dropped by the Israelis by plane. So they don't want these airdrops. They're like, we don't want to be humiliated by having to go around looking for these bags of food that are being dropped out of the. I mean, I'm sure the Israelis feel it's not exactly all that safe to be walking around Gaza.
They booby trap everything.
Where you have all these, mines and booby traps set up all over the place, not to mention snipers. And so the Israelis are like, okay, we can have food, but we're going to airdrop it. Now, I think that tells you, I mean, think about it. If you and I were starving, are we going to take the position, listen, we're very humiliated that bags of food are being dropped from the sky. We're not going to go get them and fetch them. Come and put it into my hand.
Some homeless people act like that in America.
And we don't, I mean, exactly. Yeah, well,
I mean, entitled is what I'm saying.
The entitled mentality,
so
right?
I don't know about the Gaza situation. Now, Huckabee is supposed to be going to look into this, to see what's going on. They're going to see, if are they really starving? What is the deal?
I saw Elizabeth Warren posted yesterday. She said, well,
because they're masters of propaganda. So
yeah,
it's
well,
hard.
I mean, the people fall for it because even though the New York Times corrected its image about the kid who had a physical deformity, they were claiming he was starving.
Yep.
I then open up Axios, and I see they're sharing the same photo. Yep. Bernie Sanders was out on the Senate floor. He had the same photo up there. Yeah. So they put out these lies.
Yeah, and you remember when we drove by the border and we saw these beautiful homes and people just being free and all of that, and it's like, oh yeah, this is not something that you're going to see on TV.
We were driving through the West Bank.
Yeah.
Now the West Bank is somewhat people talk about the occupied territories. The West Bank is really Judea and Samaria. But it is Palestinian territory. It is controlled by the Palestinian Authority and to some degree Hamas. As you drive on the highway and look to your right, going north, you see these $1 million mansions. And we were like, who lives there? And they were like, oh no, that's not for Jews. They're like, those are rich Palestinians. And apparently a lot of those some of these rich Palestinians are Palestinian. Others are rich Palestinians from abroad. They live in London. Yep. They live in Qatar. They live in Amman. But they have second homes or they build mansions in the middle of Israel. I mean, it's very eerie to see. And like you say, this is not the image that most people have of these people at all. All right. Let's talk about illegals. And you gave me a couple of articles I'm going to pass over to you. This is actually...
this is the Cincinnati
this is the Cincinnati issue, which we're going to come to next.
Yeah.
But hang on to those.
Yeah.
We were talking about illegals, and we were making a point that connected the issue of illegals to virtue signaling, right? Yes. What were you saying about it?
Well, I saw this video that it went viral of this girl. She was in her workout, she was in her Lululemons and her workout clothes, and the ICE came and was taking I don't know if he was a construction worker. I don't really know where he took him from, but he handcuffed him. He was taking him into one of the vehicles, and this woman was acting like a complete lunatic, yelling at the ICE guy, saying, you're a criminal, you're taking him for no good reason. So she was basically advocating for this illegal. And I'm like, and she wasn't the only one. There were other older white women. These were all white women.
Yeah,
doing the same thing. And I thought, why are they virtue signaling?
Like, what is the psychology of these people,
right? What is wrong with these people? These are the first people that are going to get, like, I hate to say it, but,
robbed, beaten, raped.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I was saying this, and I want to kind of float this theory out there, and that is this. In a secular society, when people are not getting their moral compass from self-accountability. And what I mean is, normally, think about it, in, certainly when you have moral accountability, you're going to say, these are the rules, and I'm going to apply them to myself and see to what degree I have in my day lived up to my moral beliefs, right? These are people who don't live up to their moral beliefs at all. So they don't want to say things like, we have the 10 commandments. Which commandments have I violated today? Because it's probably going to be like all 10. So but their moral instinct hasn't gone away. They still want to feel good about themselves, but they can't feel good about themselves based upon anything that they did, because they are disgusting people. And so what do? They displace or transplant this moral instinct. And so the beauty of virtue signaling is you don't have to actually do anything. The beauty of virtue signaling is you have the moral indignation. It's never applied to yourself. It's applied to some third party who is not living up to their moral lights. And so what you're doing is you're looking at illegals. You're saying, I'm going to feel good about myself by taking the side of these underprivileged people. Why? Because I don't think they're going to rape me. I don't think they're going to actually rob my neighborhood. I live in a gated community. I don't think they're going to take my job. They're going to take some other farmer's job, some other agricultural worker's job, some other grocery guy's job. And so the cost of these moral convictions that I have aren't falling on me. They're falling on somebody else. So this, I think, is the psychology of these people. It's really despicable, but it is a way for them to pay nothing and feel like really good about themselves at the end of the day. They can engage in major moral self-congratulation. They can all go to their little wine and cheese parties and exchange among them. Oh, this terrible what's happening to these illegals. This is what I saw when I looked out of my window. Oh, you won't believe what I saw, So this is the left. I think this is the culture that they are creating among themselves. All right, let's talk about these beatings in Cincinnati.
Oh.
Did you see the police chief? And she's trying to be even-handed, but according to her, what's happening is, well, first of all, she uses the word fight.
Mm-hmm.
You have one group of people barbarically beating this couple, and the woman looks like she's been mutilated, but it's supposedly a fight.
Yeah.
Second of all, she's bashing social media, acting like you people are very irresponsible and sharing images of what happened, even though they're people on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking actual videos which are accurately showing the barbaric beating. I think she thinks like, you're giving Cincinnati a bad name, and moreover, you're not showing the full picture, as if to say that, there's some context that would change what you're seeing with your eyes. Look, in the George Floyd video, we saw with our eyes. You can make a judgment of what you saw. And maybe there is some context, there's something that happened before, something that happened after, but it's not like your eyes, like what you see is inaccurate.
No,
in fact, the opposite.
No, this is really, they arrested one guy, this black guy. He was, I don't know if he's the one that but here's a couple photos. So
the photos are, you have to turn your head away.
The woman showed photos a couple of days ago, and she had a black eye, contusion in the eye, bloody, big lip because of that. I know that blood was coming out of her mouth when she was knocked to the ground. And these people were kicking their heads.
Right.
At first I was like, you do know that you can murder. I mean, you could murder these people. Are they like such thugs that they don't care that they can,
look, think of how somebody becomes like that, right? You don't become like that overnight. You don't become a barbarian overnight. What happens is you get into fights at school, you beat up other kids, nothing happens to you.
This to me was a beat down for white people.
Right.
This was an attack on white people.
You can't avoid the racial element of it. If
there
you will
was-
look at it, it
this
looks
was
to be...
the only component to this was racial.
And not only that, but I think that, when you see the police chief say, let's not politicize this, let's tamp it down. All you have to do is say, what if it were racially the reverse?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It would be a national catastrophe.
I am all for getting someone on a hate crime, but it better be even.
Yeah.
It better be even-handed.
Otherwise, we're not interested.
This was a hate crime.
Right.
This was a hate crime 100%.
Right. And the police chief was doing everything she could. And by the way, not to go into stereotypes, but she's your typical ponytailed, overweight, white woman, obviously somewhat woke. And her whole thing was like, let's not bring up the racial element. We are conducting a thorough investigation. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, again, if this were a bunch of white guys beating the heck out of a bunch of black guys, your tone would not be the same. It would be completely different.
Yeah.
And so this is what, when we started out talking about young people and what makes them furious, it's this kind of stuff. It's the double standards that are embedded in our institutional practices. Companies that basically say, we're only going to hire a person of color for this position. Or university scholarships where they're like, the first question is explain what diverse perspectives you bring to this, even though the position has nothing to do with bringing a diverse perspective per se. It's a math scholarship, for example. And so it's the criminal justice system, it's the education system, it's the hiring system. I mean, this country has gone down this road I think we have a generation that was a little bit woolly-headed over. I have a dream, Martin Luther King, the March on Selma, blah, blah, blah. And all of that was right up to a point. But the laws were changed in the 1960s. We didn't need 50 years of systematic racial one-sidedness. And we see it even in small things, right? You and I watch, we're watching shows and they have a procession of advertising. Have you ever seen a normal white family in an ad? Have you ever seen a situation where a black person doesn't know how to use a product and the white person is explaining it to them? It's always the opposite. The white guy's really stupid. What do I do with this detergent? The black person's like, this is what you do. This is how you do. The white person's like, oh, yes, wise black person. You're showing us how we should get a better detergent. I mean, it's just at some point, and we're both persons of color to and yet
I'm more of color than you, by the way. just to let you
Not by outward appearances, but I think if you run your 23andMe, it may be true.
Am a lot of colors.
Well, you are basically drawn from the genetic stock of the entire planet.
I am.
Right?
I am.
And I am not. In fact, I am. There are not a lot of people in America who are racially unmixed. I'm one of those people. Yeah, exactly. I haven't done 23andMe, but I think if I did, it would come out 100%.
Well, Danielle did it, and she came out 50%
right,
because of you.
Which shows that the Trump administration has their sleeves rolled up. They're streamlining some pretty big moves right now. But you know what? It's difficult for them to take your personal finances or mine into account when trying to do what's right for the country. You have to do that. We have to do that. This is why tens of thousands of Americans are protecting themselves. They're buying gold from Birch Gold. Here are some key facts. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has gone up, up, and up. 40% increase. Some central banks are bolstering demand for gold by buying in record quantities. What does that tell you? Global instability and tension is among the highest in decades. That's always good for gold. So you may be able to find some peace of mind, some security in gold. Birch Gold makes it easy for you to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, or you can just buy some physical gold to store at home. Text my name Dinesh to 989898. They'll send you a free information kit on gold, no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers. So protect your savings today. Text the word Dinesh to 989898. Let's talk about this guy in New York with the AR-15.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very disturbing sight, right? You're looking at New York City, in fact, a familiar part of New York City, 8 blocks from where I used to live in New York City, right off Central Park.
Mhm.
This is 52nd and, on the Upper East Side.
Mhm.
And you have this guy walking with an AR into a corporate building.
Mhm.
And what do we know about that?
Well, apparently, I don't know a whole lot, but what I do know is that he had a grievance with the NFL because in his head, he concocted the idea that he used to play for the NFL.
And did he?
No, it turns out he did not.
Yeah.
He played football in high school, but he did not play for the NFL. And there's I'm not even sure what the acronym is for. It's a brain injury that football players get from banging their head so much.
Yeah.
CTE or something like that. I don't know.
Did he? So what happened to him?
So anyway, so he claims that that's what he had thanks to the NFL. Well, obviously he was deranged because that's not the case.
Yeah.
And so, but he's deranged. He's on medication for, I don't even know for what, but obviously
his condition.
And he is given a license to carry a weapon from Nevada. He's from Nevada. He drives all the way from Nevada to New York.
Then you tell me he's like a security guard?
He's a security guard at a casino. And
Wow.
And he gets
a mentally deranged guy.
A mentally deranged person is able to get weapons.
And so he drives basically Nevada to New York.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little strange, right? He drives to New York, he parks, he walks into the building, and you said he knew exactly where to go.
He knew, well, yeah, he knew where to go.
So it was a targeted.
Well, it was to the NFL. He knew the NFL was there. I don't know that he knew what floor they were on or anything like that. But what I was telling you, though, is it's interesting how, we want to like say, oh, this person, the AR-15s, that's the problem, all of that. And I'm like, no, there should have been a guard with an AR-15 at the entrance.
Oh.
And
you're saying it takes an AR-15
to get an AR to get someone with an AR-15. I mean, I'm just saying,
because if you have a guard with a normal revolver,
he wouldn't be
it's
able
not
to.
it's not an even.
It's not an even fight, no. And so if you have a guard with an AR-15, I know it's scary looking, and I know it's probably very third world country looking.
Right, we're not used to people
that.
brandishing those kinds of guns.
No, but I do think that going forward, that might be something to consider. Have guards that are, at a movie theater, at a grocery store, I don't know, just public places,
I think some people would find it, at least initially, disturbing because it somewhat militarizes our society.
It is, but we have gotten to a place where I think that there are just too many lunatics running around. I'm not saying guns running around, if you notice. It's lunatics who get a hold of guns.
But guns are easily available, and so the marriage of guns and lunacy is definitely bad.
These people should be in an institution, and they're not. So they're in society, therefore we are in danger in public places because these people get these guns and they do these things.
I want to bring up something I don't think you know about, but I want to talk about it probably early next week. So Trump signed an executive order, which in effect is reopen the asylums. Because going back to the 1980s, the courts
I remember.
Basically shut down the asylums, right? They said that mental lunatics have civil rights too.
Yeah.
You cannot keep a lunatic in confinement against his or her will.
Yeah.
You have to let them go. If they want to voluntarily turn themselves in, okay, but otherwise, no. And obviously, these lunatics go out of the street. I mean, the thing is, the key part of being a lunatic is you don't know you're a lunatic.
Well, I've told you the story of when I was working for a language. It was called Language USA, and I did translating or interpreting rather, and it was MHMR, which is it's a facility that houses people that have all kinds of disabilities, one of which is mental, and I go there. It was I was probably only there like 3 weeks, as doing this.
Yeah.
And I go there, and first of all, everybody in the waiting area is talking. And okay, this is many years. This is like 20 years ago, right? This is not when people had
Yeah,
the
headphones.
headphones.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're talking to themselves,
Right.
you know? And then I'm thinking, whoa, this is really weird. So, okay, so I go into the office, the office, right, with the psychiatrist and the patient and the patient's mother. The patient is probably in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
Okay. And he speaks only Spanish. So that's why I was there. And so the psychiatrist is just, like very nonchalant,
Making notes.
doing all that. And then he goes, so how can I help you today? And so the guy all of a sudden, and I had no idea that he was a lunatic. I just thought he was a patient of his that
Getting
needed,
under
I thought
psychiatric
maybe
care.
he had ADHD or something like that, getting medication for that. No, he goes, tell him that I'm going to kill him and then I'm going to kill you. And I was like, I was hyperventilating, first of all, because that scared me. Like, I just couldn't even believe he was telling me this.
Yeah.
So then I carefully go to, and he wasn't phased at all.
The psychiatrist was not
like,
phased.
oh, okay. Oh, I got to up this. I
I
got to up his medication.
I got to make a note of it. I got to increase his medication.
And so I was just like, and that was pretty much it. He just kind of gave him, a higher dosage of the medication he was on. It was maybe anti-hallucinative or whatever, and he walks out with his mom, and I sit there and I couldn't move. And the psychiatrist is like, what's wrong? I said, well, first of all, I'm not getting in the elevator with that person. I said, I am afraid of him. Second of all, why isn't he in an institution? And he laughed and said exactly what you just said. He goes, well, I'll tell you why not. Because he doesn't meet the criteria.
He hasn't killed anybody yet.
He hasn't killed anyone.
He just talks about killing people, and talk by itself.
That's right.
Is not enough.
Is not enough.
There's
a criteria that everyone has to meet in order to be institutionalized, and he didn't meet it. How can he not meet it?
So this is maybe what Trump is trying to change with this executive order, namely the idea that you've got a lot of people, and of course we use this kind of loose language, right? They're homeless, like as if they're searching for homes. You're talking about people who are addicts, right? Drug addicts, alcoholics,
this person
lunatics,
had schizophrenia.
Schizophrenics, and some of them extremely violent and dangerous.
Yes, as this guy was.
Mm-hmm. And the question is, how is a society to deal with those people? And so the assumption that you let them roam the streets, drop into restaurants and pick food off your plate, which is what they do in LA and other places. Totally unacceptable. And so I'm glad to see this is something that for a long time people just felt like this is awful. There's nothing we can do about it. The courts have. And Trump is like, guess what? There is something we can do about it.
Well, he wants to make America great again in a lot of ways.
And that means cleaning it up.
That's right.
Cleaning up the place. All right. Now, let's talk about our friend. I shouldn't say our friend.
Oh my gosh.
I'm speaking sarcastically, of course.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's talk about Bryan Kohberger and a very interesting thing that you told me about in his sentencing hearing. So describe the scene.
Yeah, well, so apparently he drew this black heart on a piece of paper.
So he's sitting there, and the victims are giving their victim impact statements.
But he drew this before because he wasn't drawing as they were talking.
Oh, he had drawn it already.
He had already drawn it, yeah, and it was just sitting there on the desk. He wasn't looking at it at all. He was looking at the people that were talking. But apparently, at the end of the hearing, he turned it over, and he signed it or wrote something on the back and gave it to his attorney. And she then smiled at him,
So you described the scene to me and you're like, this is so inexplicably bizarre. Right? What is he doing and what is she doing? And truthfully, I don't know, but I was offering a theory and it's kind of worth considering. And my theory was this, that Kohberger has some kind of autistic or quasi-autistic personality. And as a consequence of that, he is wired a little differently than everybody else. He sits there lacking empathy and listening to all these people talk about how terrible he is. And even though internally he doesn't know that what he did is barbaric, he does know that society thinks that because he's hearing it, right? He cannot deny that that is how people
perceive him,
right? And since he knows that, he sits down and says, well, what does that mean for me? What does our society think about me? They think I have a black heart. They think that my heart is totally evil. So I'm going to draw not my opinion of me, but their opinion of me, a black heart, right?
Or maybe he thinks he has a black heart.
Or maybe he thinks he has a black heart. And then, because see, the behavior of his lawyer clearly is not autistic, right? We have to explain.
Something's wrong with her.
Well, either wrong with her or something is going on in her head.
I mean,
and what may be is that the reason she
I've
smiled.
seen her smile at him many times.
Many
it's
times.
Really weird.
No, she's definitely kind of fond of him.
Yeah.
And she even puts her arm around him.
Very strange.
And so, but it could also be that she thinks that there is some moral recognition on his part in that image. So it could be that she smiles at him like as if to say, you know what? Yes, this is
you do have a black heart. Yes,
this is a
I
correct
agree.
description of what made you do those things. And I'm glad that you acknowledge it in this. I mean, I don't know if this is a correct interpretation. I mean, I'm not giving you like a psychiatrist interpret. I'm giving you, if I saw this as an image in a literary novel, that's how I would read it. I would try to read it in terms of the symbolism of what you see, and in terms of the interaction between an autistic person and a normal person. And the normal person is like, why did he draw that? Oh, I see. He is at some level at least acknowledging here, maybe for the first time, I've got a black heart. That's why I did these things. Maybe. All right, let's talk about Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah,
when I was talking about it earlier, well, first of all, you had never heard of it.
I've never. Well, I didn't know who she was.
Yeah,
I had no idea who she was.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh yeah, Sydney Sweeney.
I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm not claiming that. You know, look, I only knew about her because I knew she has stoked up a cultural reaction.
Yeah.
Now there are Democrats, I will say, kind of later this week, who have been backing off and saying, hey, listen, you know, we haven't been complaining about this ad. In a sense, I think they've realized that this is backfiring on them big time. They don't want to be in a situation where their idea of beauty is some trans female, and then the right-wing idea of beauty is Sydney Sweeney. I mean, they're going to lose that fight every time, and it's kind of dawned on them that that doesn't make them look good. So they're now acting like it isn't us who's objecting, but the truth of it is there are a lot of people who are objecting, and they tend to be the big fat angry woman type, or the nose ring blue hair type, or the LGBTQ type. I've seen about maybe a dozen videos of like, this is terrible. One or two are actually from black women where they think this is some kind of statement of white supremacy. Now, hey, if you showed them Beyonce posing in exactly the same pose, they would have no problem with it. You know, they would have no problem with the same kind of casual sort of sexuality type of pose. But with Sydney Sweeney, like, you can't do it.
Yeah.
What do you make of all this?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It kind of reminded me a little bit of when Brooke Shields did her Calvin Klein pants.
Oh, wow. You're flashing back a good 30 years. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I say this because I had to get those pants. Okay. And she's like 5'10". I'm 5'1" on a good day. Okay. And so I had to get those pants.
Now let me ask you. This is a bit of a quiz, and you may conclude from this that I'm a bit of a perv, although I'm not.
Oh my God.
No. Here's the quiz.
What
was the actual wording of the Brooke Shields ad for Jordache jeans? You remember?
Well, for Calvin Klein.
Calvin Klein, sorry.
She did Jordache later. Yeah. This is the only thing that comes between my legs.
Okay, so you actually
like
win.
that.
I didn't know if you would remember it.
Yeah.
What comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was like, it was like a shocker.
It was a shocker, but I didn't care. hair. I just wanted those jeans.
But it showed that the ad worked.
It worked. Oh, absolutely.
It worked on you.
But it worked, except that I tried on those jeans and they were way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. They were like a foot too long.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, well, maybe someday some retailer will make petite clothing.
Well, you know what's interesting is that it's interesting how a cultural context shapes how people respond to an ad. So let's look at the Brooke Shields ad. Nobody even noticed that said Brooke Shields is white. That was taken for granted. Of course, Brooke Shields is white. What else would she be? The fact that you have a white girl, like white bread, a kind of all-American girl was accepted. It was like, of course, what else would you have?
Yeah.
This is America. Yeah. So you wouldn't expect to see like a Japanese girl any more than you expect to see, an Asian Indian being a model in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that people found titillating was the idea of Brooke Shields, who had, by the way, been a child actress and was here exhibiting a sort of
very sexualized
emerging sexuality, and the controversy was over that.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, with Sydney Sweeney, it's not over that.
No.
It is over
her genes.
It is over her genes,
In
which is to say
marks.
the pun on genes and genetics.
Yeah.
Right? And I think they are implying that, even though I think the ad guys were basically going for, hey, Sydney Sweeney looks good, she has good genes, they're implying that there's a white supremacist message in here.
Yeah, that, and also the other thing too is, growing up loving Barbies were blonde. And very skinny.
And very skinny.
And so that was the ideal way a girl was supposed to look, right?
Right.
And nobody complained. I mean, I guess they complained later, and now we don't have Barbies like that anymore, I don't think. I don't know. I haven't bought a Barbie in a while.
No, but you're right. They have been doing some woke Barbies.
Yeah.
And not only that, but if you look at ads for like Calvin Klein just 2 years ago, I mean, they have like a 250-pound black woman.
All I care about is if Calvin Klein can have petite sizes. Okay?
Well, no, I know, but what I'm saying is, an ad conveys, these are the type of people we want to show you as wearing our products, right? So if you look and you see some trans person wearing these jeans, you're like, well, this must be jeans for trans people, right? You're antagonized by it to a degree. And also the other thing is that they are conducting a cultural aggression against the idea of an American culture and an American standard.
I think if we just don't give them the attention, if we just ignore them,
wrong.
They'll go away.
No, I don't think so.
What?
Because that's your strategy in these things.
Your
your strategy is to look the other way, to pretend it doesn't exist. My strategy is to bring out the political horsewhip and to flay them, because that's actually what they respond to.
Ay, chico.
Yeah. So here we see the difference between a traditional Republican and a MAGA conservative.
Oh.
It's the horsewhip.
Oh, no.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or watch on Rumble, YouTube, and SalemNow.com.